Wait till I get 7 seconds. 7 seconds. All right. All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, glory, and praise due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Also want to give double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone who's teaching the truth and sincerity, and also who rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect that scattered four corners of the earth, which is you so-called Negroes, Latino, Hispanics, Native American Indians, the true Israelites that's coming out there, the elect nation of Israel that the Lord is dealing with, and no other nation. Okay, so I really want to entitle this video, to understand the MOTB, you need to use common sense. All right, so this is going to be a real short video because to get the full understanding of a scripture, sometimes you got to read up and you got to read down. So this is, just got like 3 scriptures. Hopefully more comes to mind. So I will start. Let's do Revelations 13. Salaki just got a little fever. All right. And it reads, and I'm going to start at 16. And he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. All right, so, he calls it all, both small and great. So you can be, low level, high level, rich, poor. You can be the richest man or you can be a poor man. Free and bond, you can be a man that's free, a person that's free, or a person that's in jail. These are things that they're going to implement no matter who you are. Now, we in GMS knows that the MOTB is that C-hip, but in the vibration of this is going off innate saying that it's sin. And that's just contradictory because I was watching other brothers' videos where it was saying sin, Christianity. All I know is that the MOTB was totally different from something else. So that's just being confused. That shows confusion and hypocrisy. The Lord is not an author of confusion, and showing that it's 2 different things. that leads the sheep to be confused. All right. Now we know that the MOTB is going to be a time where it's going to be fully implemented. Like, you're going to have this thing, because once you pay attention to, like, the world's, what's the word I want to look for? Currency system, that the American dollar is in a debt that they can't, recover from. So let me grab Isaiah 19 in verse 15. It says, neither shall they be any work for Egypt, which the head or tail, branch or rush may do. So it's going to be a time where you're going to look out. Like, perfect example is watching the, what's that movie? The Purges. It's going to be, it's like, you look at your cops, they work for a check. When you look at America, it is known, like, basically, we had your privately owned slaves, where, the Southern Kingdom and, Northern Kingdom was working on. But now, as time progressed on, you see that we're all corporately owned slaves, and to a point that even Esau and these other nations got to work. Baruch 3 and 8, we're all subject to payments. But, we see that, Jake gets the hard core of that curse. But nevertheless, with this American dollar and dollar crashing, how can these these businesses, flourish, and then they had to come, and that's when they're going to have to implement that real MOTB. Okay? Now, when Nate said you was going into, the MOTB is sin. In order to make a purchase, you got to sin. Which don't make any sense. If I wanted to get a new, 70-inch plasma screen, what do I got to do? Commit adultery? I want a new microwave. I got to kill somebody? So on and so forth. Where I got to eat swine? It doesn't make any sense. And like you said, you got any wisdom? And I should have wrote this down because this is like his congregation that's just following this. Back in the day, before Elder Apostles Hart put the to declare not to talk to any other camps. In my neighborhood, it was a total of 4 GMS members. And then we had a new guy, he had t-shirt fringes on, and he said he was from the IUIC, but I backed off. Because these men at IUIC, they just listen. But you gotta have, when you look up that definition of stupid or stupidity, it gets into a form of a lack of common sense. All right? So that gives me another scripture. That's Jeremiah 4:22. And that's why I brought that up, the stupidity part. This reads Jeremiah 4:22. It says, "For my people is foolish. They have not known me. They are sottish children, and they have not known understanding. They are wise to do evil, but to do good they have no knowledge." But, that point was that sottish, meaning stupid. Or Apostle, Tahar got into the definition, first off, a lack of common sense. And that's especially to these 2/3 of our people. Because you got to think of these things, like, how can that make sense? How can I prove that I commit this sin? Now, I don't know how the NWO is going to really be, but I'm pretty sure they're going to have some type of, it's not going to be an all-out free-for-all, just go and murk everybody, But you got to have common sense in these things because the MOTB being the CHIP makes more sense. Okay? Like, imagine if you were a farmer or whatever. Even though you saw a dude put, what's the word I want to look for? Even though he will try to, mess up your farming and try to tax you or whatever he has, devise plans on, if you was to buy your own, make your own crops and stuff, then you wouldn't have to sin. And then sometimes you can lie. Yeah. I did this, I did that. I committed adultery. So give me my corn, my chicken, and my plasma screen. It doesn't, like what Nate say, it doesn't make any sense. And that just goes to show that he is the vibration and has a resume of a false prophet. This is Jeremiah 14:14. And it says, "Then the Lord saith unto me, the prophets prophesy lies in my name. I sent them not, neither have I commanded them, neither spake unto them. They prophesy unto you a false vision and divination and things of naught, and a deceit of their heart. And then you can look at Nate, and that's how how Nate just runs the congregation. First off, the MOTB, Jacob's Trouble, things that you shouldn't be saying. Like my man, the little Benjamin had him kind of like, kind of caught him up. What time of tribulation that Jake is going to be, that is going to go through, that eclipse, slavery, which when he was getting into, Jacob's trouble, Jeremiah 30:7, but he was kind of stomped, and all he can say is leave the breakdowns to us. But your breakdowns is just nothing but confusion, man. The scriptures say, make it plain upon tables, make it simple for the sheep to understand. Now, not everyone's going to get it, especially if of Israel, but this is for the elect. And you see him going to other countries to so-called wake up the elect, and that's not what you're supposed to do. You get in Psalms the 19th chapter, the internet, that's the heavy lifting for us. You can get these scriptures day and night, man. There's brothers putting up scriptures and videos and lessons, exhortations day and night. All right? But you have to have common sense. The MOTB, man, is going to be the C-hip, man. And that's another thing that I noticed with IUIC is that they cherry pick the Hebrew. He'll go into Ezekiel 9:4, but you won't get into Revelations 13 and 16 when it gets into that word mark. Because then you will know it's two different words and two different meanings. Basically trying to X out the Messiah, But, nevertheless, you guys are avoiding it, and it's to a point where now when I look at these other Israelite camps that y'all are sold out to the bag. Titus 1 and 9, I believe, or probably 11, when it talks about, the ones that know that they're of the circle. I'm going to grab it. Let me grab it. It says, it says, this is Titus 1 and 10, for they are many unruly and vain talkers and deceivers, especially they of the circumcision, basically knowing that they're Israelites because being circumcised was an Israelite custom. And it says, whose mouth must be stopped, who subvert whole houses, teaching things which they ought not, for filthy lucre's sake. So breaking down these scriptures, that's detrimental. You ain't supposed to be breaking down the scriptures wrong, making it confusing for the congregation, leading the sheep to salvation, but yet you're not. And looking at your congregation, bro, you can't say that you don't got the bag, man. But nevertheless, Lord willing, I hope this video was edifying. And again, I want to give honor, glory, and praises due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. And again, double honors to the elders and apostles, that great millstone, season truth and sincerity, and also who rule well. Peace and salutation to the hope of elect. And we'll close out, on to the next lesson.